What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the MCOM 693A podcast. My name is Larz Broussard, and today we're going to be discussing mixed race, its concept, evolution, and eventual fetishization through media. This episode's content will focus specifically on mixed black race. Although all ethnicities are of equal importance, it seems as if mixed black individuals are put onto a pedestal within both digital and social media. For the record, yes, I am a biracial person. I am black and Filipino. However, I don't want to spend the entire time talking about purely my experiences, which is why I wanted to bring in two people who can both relate to these issues and speak upon them personally, as they are also of mixed black race.
My name is Brianna Madera, but I usually go by Bree for short. My mom is Dominican and my dad is Creole. I'm a student at UCI and I'm a third-year bio major and I'm minoring in political science.
My name is Marcus Ware, but you could just call me Marcus. Currently studying to be a computer science engineer, and so I'm black, half African American and half Japanese.
The idea for this podcast first came when I was scrolling through Instagram, actually, and came across a post explaining biracial child fetishization. It's quite a mouthful. It used the cover picture of the Kardashian children, Kim and Kanye's kids, who could be seen as, the poster children for this concept. It was then followed by 7 more pictures defining the term, what it looks like on social media, and relating it to the concept of colorism. Now, biracial fetishization is defined as an unsettling stereotype where individuals of a certain dual heritage are deemed more desirable based on their characteristics and complexion. Now, in the Instagram post, it was specific to just children, explaining how certain users on social media talk about mixed babies, saying things like, "Oh my god, this is why Spanish women and black guys go so well together, because they have the best babies." And then they follow that status with a picture of the child, or, get this one, they tweet about how they would love to marry a black person because of how cute their children would be. Not to mention the numerous number of social media accounts dedicated to mixed children. Mixed race babies, IG. Mixed race children. I'm serious. Go look them up. Those are 2 real Instagram accounts that I just shouted out, both of which have over 200,000 and 100,000 followers, respectively, at the time of this recording. Now, whereas one can see these as praise and celebration for mixed black people, it also points directly to the ideas of colorism, which is defined as discrimination against darker-skinned individuals by favoring light-skinned people. Whether you're that future mom that longs for a black baby with blue eyes, or maybe you're that dude that just can't get into dark-skinned girls. In some form or facet, that's a guilty cause for colorism. And a lot of the times, these same people don't even realize it because they are unaware of the connection that colorism has to racism, as well as a history of mixed black individuals, a history that accounts for identity crises, and feeling not only embarrassed to be black, but also not black enough. For Bree, she remembers growing up in the predominantly white areas of Los Angeles, and how her life was shaped with her mother as a teacher.
I feel like it's definitely shaped the way I've grown up living in this environment. So I've always gotten that I spoke really white, or that I act white, or I'm more of an Oreo. So that's suggesting that I'm black on the outside, but also white on the inside. And that kind of played a role in my personality because I felt like I was always trying to find myself because I was too black. I was too black for the Latino community, but I was also not black enough for the black community. So it's constantly a tether.
Marcus had his own identity battle as well, recalling his time living in Okinawa, Japan.
Looking back at that now, it kind of made me feel like I was alone, and over time it gave me like subconsciously anti-black thoughts, you know, like being ashamed of my own hair or my own skin, or like, you know, my own culture. Like over time, when you're not surrounded by, like, I guess, people who appreciate or value the same stuff as you, like culturally, it kind of makes you feel like you don't have a place to belong, and you start like feeling ashamed. At the time, there would be, I forgot the word for it in Japanese, but they would keep saying the word black pig. And at the time I would just laugh at it because I was like, it's a funny word. But then I started to think, I was like, oh, they were calling me that, you know, and they were laughing at that. And I was like, wow, it's kind of, yeah, it kind of hurts knowing that now.
It was a mixing of primarily black and white that originated during the 17th and 18th century, where white European servants would get with the first accounts of African slaves. This translated over to the American colonies and directly into the times of slavery. Many half-black, half-white babies were made through the raping of female slaves by their owners. Although interracial marriage was illegal, it didn't stop the rape because black women were seen as acceptable sexual outlets. This continued well past the abolishing of slavery in the new form of Jim Crow laws. Segregation kept each race to their own kind, but what about the mixed people? Where did they fit in society? This was where the one-drop rule was created. It stated that if a person were to have any black descent, even just one drop, they were considered black. And this was done to keep the white race, quote-unquote, pure and free of contamination from inferior races. This left the mixed kids in two spots. Either you looked more black, and you were seen by society as only black, or you looked more white, and for them, it was denouncing their blackness and passing off as only white to enjoy the benefits of being the top race. And this is where colorism ties back into the picture. Like I said before, favoring light skins over dark skins isn't just a preference that someone may have. It's a history of hiding your blackness to resist the hate and torture that came with it. It's figuring out quite literally where you belonged in your own community because of the color of your skin. Light skins are deemed more desirable, and the same connection as to how white, more Eurocentric features are deemed as more beautiful, just as the mixed people who portray themselves as only white tend to have it much easier in society.
The idea of colorism in itself, I think, is one of the most disturbing characteristics of society, because why is it that skin color is the determining factor as to whether or not you were able to move up into society? I just think it's wrong, and it's predominant in both of my communities, like being Latinx and being black. There's a lot of anti-blackness in the Latinx community, and that's also attributed to my identity crisis as a kid.
Colorism definitely exists. Like, I've experienced it from my own black communities. Like a lot of times, like there'd be moments where I'd try to like hang out around with my same peers or like culturally, and they would like I could get the vibe that like they're like, why is this guy here? Like, he's not even like black enough, or like he doesn't even act black. I don't know how it even exists in the first place. You know, to a white person, we're still black, or to like a non-black person, we're still going to be seen as a black person. We're going to still be treated the way, or we might still be mistreated, you know, just because I'm lighter or that person's darker. It kind of brings more separation for our culture too. Like it makes us more divided, and I definitely think social media has done that on purpose to make it so like it's harder for our culture and community to reconcile.
That's an interesting point that Marcus brings up regarding social media. It's gotten to a point where users can build and amass a significant following and even generate a career through platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Whereas this can be seen as a great alternate to a regular career and a much more freeing one at that. It's shown to have some dark sides, whereas some people have shown to take drastic measures to achieve their goals of success without taking into account the concerns and feelings of others. And this is a prime example of it.
Cultural appropriation has become a divisive topic on the internet, with celebrities from Kim Kardashian to Coldplay at times accused of insensitively borrowing from other cultures.
There's an alarming new trend making national headlines that needs to be addressed: blackfishing.
A term being used to describe someone who's pretending to be black.
Now, with that Instagram model under fire, accused of pretending to be black to get followers and endorsements.
Taking deals made for black girls and posing as black to manipulate and boost followers is a big deal. Blackface is a big deal when black people are out here being murdered because of our skin color.
Blackfishing. It's a word that combines the terms catfishing and blackface. On one hand, you have catfishing, which is using fake pictures and videos to portray yourself as a different identity, and then you have blackface, a practice that goes back hundreds of years in American history, where non-black people would put on this dark makeup to represent an African-American character. Now, obviously, back in the prime days of blackface theater in the 1800s and early 1900s, things were far more blatant and outright offensive.
You know, Cotton, I'm making a picture called The Lion Tamer.
The Lion Tamer?
Uh-huh.
There ain't but one kind of lion I'll mess with.
What kind's that?
Ooh, that's a dandelion.
What you're listening to right now is a clip from a minstrel show in blackface comedy called Cotton and Chickwats from Yes Sir, Mr. Bones in 1951.
Now, all I want you to do is meet me at the zoo in the morning at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, with the rest of the monkeys.
With the rest of the monkeys.
Yeah, I'll bring my grandpa with me.
There's a reason why blackfishing draws comparisons to blackface. The attempt of non-black individuals portraying themselves as black for reasons benefiting those involved. What hasn't changed is the blatant disregard to how real black people feel about this, the potential triggers that can be poked, and hateful memories in American culture that are dug up after being suppressed and attempted to be forgotten about.
Chloe and Courtney and Kylie, they're the three defining figures, I believe, in blackfishing, where they use black culture and appropriate black culture for the means of commodity, when these features are hated upon from the blueprint. They're hated upon from the blueprint, which makes absolutely no sense. You know, we should all be celebrated, but black culture is only celebrated when white people are appropriating it.
I think trying to imitate another culture without really recognizing like all the problems we faced as a group or all the things we've achieved. I feel like if someone's just trying to copy like darker skin or like braids, then like I think that's immediately wrong, but that's hard to determine because sometimes, or for me, I personally think if long as the person is respectfully respects the culture and fully understands what he's doing, then I think that's okay. But that's the hard part where you draw the lines. Like, how do you know right off the bat that person's not just appropriating your culture? So that's something that's harder to determine, but I feel like that's the only way to do that is by talking to that person. But definitely, I think like trying to like get your skin darker is like definitely a no-no. Braiding your hair is probably more acceptable as long as you know why you're doing it and like where it was rooted from culturally.
Bree and Marcus have two differing perspectives when it comes to this issue. Bree feels very strongly about this, calling out 3 members of the Kardashian family as a prime example of high-profile celebrities who have been accused of blackfishing, suggesting that these, along with other non-black individuals who willingly take part of black culture, do it for financial and social profit. And she's not wrong. The reasons why it creates anger in the black community is due to the continued discrimination and senseless violence that black people experience solely due to the color of their skin. Blackfishers can simply flip the switch of when they want to be black or not, without having to deal with the negative consequences of living as black in America. Some blackfishers claim to never steal characteristics of black culture, suggesting that their looks are natural or that they do it to celebrate the features of black people. This is where Marcus' opinion becomes interesting. Where do you draw the line between imitation being flattery versus offensive, especially if you don't know the person, or all you have to judge them is off of a social media profile? This is where it goes back to the reasons of why someone is blackfishing. Darkening your skin, contouring your facial features, or braiding your hair when you know damn well you have no business doing that can be seen as innocent. However, when the participant is willingly adopting another culture for the means of commodity, they are reducing those customs down to a trend and an appropriation, and that cannot be acceptable, especially when there are, like I said earlier, real black people that have been working their whole lives to become fully comfortable with who they are. And this is the case with both Bree and Marcus.
My mom actually taught me at a very early age that I needed to assert myself and speak very eloquently and articulate my thoughts in a meaningful manner that's going to get people to listen. And I also sat down with myself and really evaluated myself as a whole. And I honestly think reflection time is important because you're able to really sit with yourself and learn to love yourself in your own way and not try to love yourself vicariously through others, because no one's going to love you more than you're going to love yourself. I hate picturing things as a binary sort of labeling thing, but I felt like I was able to combine both sides and create one beautiful mix that is me and not have to fill a quota for what people have expected from me. And you need to be secure in the fact that you are who you are, and so you might as well just live and be secure within yourself, because if there's anything that you can change, it's the way that you react to things. But if you're secure in yourself, you won't need to react at all.
Growing up, especially without a lot of black influences, I started to have a lot of anti-black sentiments. Subconsciously, don't have your hair curly, or don't dress like this, or don't talk like this. One of the things that helped me out was growing my hair out. At the time, I didn't know why. I was just fuck it, I'm gonna grow my hair out. And then when I started seeing my curls growing in, I started getting really subconscious. So growing my hair out, I finally started to accept my hair texture, and I was wow, I could do cool things with my hair. And during that whole process, I definitely felt like more people were judging me because they saw my curls and my hairs. You know the look when people look at you, when you walk into a store, people stare at you and they're oh, it's a black person, or what's he doing here, kind of thing, you get that kind of vibe. So I definitely had to deal with that, and I guess going through that made me stronger in a way. It made me think less about what other people cared about. Eventually I just started to try to understand that it doesn't matter for me if I can't get accepted in either my Japanese or my black communities. As long as I know how to take from both sides and make the best of it, then I think that's fine.
I would like to personally thank Bree and Marcus for sharing their stories and letting their opinions be heard. I encourage other mixed black individuals, along with other members of the biracial community, to step up and voice your experiences. The only way these issues can be taken seriously is if we come together as a strong-knit group and express our concerns and fight for change and equality. My name is Larz Broussard, and thank you for listening to another episode of the MCOM 693A podcast. Source material for this podcast include audio clips from ABC News, The Real Daytime, and the 1951 film Yes Sir, Mr. Bones. Music is credited to DJ Freedem, sourced from the YouTube audio library.